So have the Marines made the perfect uniform ever? Find out in this video. What is up, guys? You're tuning in to Nikki MGTV for another military video for all your military video needs. As always, you can hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, or down in the comments below if you have questions. But as always, let's roll right to the topic, and that is my personal opinion. Before you guys attack me and whatever facts you want to try and spew in this video in the comments every single time with these fast warrior hands, this is my opinion. So I'm just letting you know why I think the Marine Corps has the best camouflage uniform. Alright, and I have to preface the video as well with I have worn several military uniforms over 10 years of service. I've been part of the more OG military uniform for the Navy, if the utilities counted as anything other than janitor uniforms. We had the NW Type 1s, which were the blueberries, which many of you know is now going to be phased out, and the Type 3s, which were the green ones, or the Kawaks for the Navy. And I've also worn the Marpat that you see in the thumbnail of this video, which I've worn now for a good while here at my new command now that I have been with the Marines. The only uniform I really haven't worn are the Army ones or the Air Force, which they have switched up recently as well. But I do think the Marines, out of a third-party perspective, even looking at those, and the Navy ones wearing those and all that, I do think the Marines have created the best camouflage uniform, and here are a few reasons why. The first is the color. I mean, that just makes sense in my opinion versus most other branches. As you see in the Navy, we've got a one color green uniform which goes on Navy ships, and it confused everybody when it first rolled out. The Air Force had that grayish pattern look to it, and then the Army has switched over and they had a grayish digital camo pattern as well. The only thing I wish is that we were still allowed to have this in the summer and this in the winter, because I still like this color and how light and loose these are. First off, I want to say durability and functionality. The beading I put on my Marine Corps camouflage uniform through our training, they upheld no problem whatsoever, and I never felt like the material was going to rip. I never felt like it was cheap. I've only had one button pop off, and that's it. I had way more pop off on my Navy one, I'll just tell you that. I was sewing buttons on like every other week. Also, it's tactful in the ease of recognizing rank and things like that. Obviously, in a field environment, you will have a darkened or subdued type of rank if you are an officer, but when you are back in garrison, it is so much easier for Marines to understand who is an officer and who isn't. Whereas the Navy, you can tell that it all just kind of blends together, and it's much more difficult for someone to comprehend the rank structure. Again, this is almost Marine proof. Literally, they know if it's shiny, you salute. If it's not shiny, you don't salute. Next are the boots. These honestly are the best boots in the military I've ever worn. A little rugged and beat up, but they do the job. Also, it's the fact that they are more flexible than any other boot that I've had. They mold much better, and that's also because the Navy boots I've always had have always been leather, so it's been very stiff as well, so you can't really do much functionality. But it's also understood that being in the Navy, you're going to have a steel toe boot, whereas Marine Corps regulation does not require steel toe, but they do have boots that are like this in a steel toe form. I also did want to mention about the boots. This is a summer boot. This is not one that's actually going to be used for all year round per se, but if you did go to a colder weather environment, I love how many options of boots you have in the Marine Corps as far as having the cold weather boots for Gore-Tex lining, things like that. There's just so much more thought process gone into the functionality of this uniform. I really hope they don't get rid of it, because I think it's honestly a uniform that's going to stand up the test of time. Lastly, I would like to talk about the sizing, because every time I buy a uniform, I always feel like I'm like this in-between size where it doesn't really fit as good as it should, or it feels like it's really baggy, or it just does not fit. It's kind of like fitting a square peg into a circle hole, or however that phrase goes. It doesn't feel right, and it feels like the sizing for many of the uniforms I've had have been kind of a wash, if I could say that. But these camouflage uniforms, the Marpats, are honestly the favorite in regards to I feel perfectly fit in them, and I don't know how that is, why that is, no idea. Other than I can tell you, even the cover, there's not all these crazy different sizes. It's literally 3 sizes, I believe, which is small, medium, and large, and it's just very basic. They've made it so easy, whereas in the Navy, all the times I've had to have a uniform, it's like the million different sizes. Now, there are only 3 things I really hate about the Marine Corps uniform, and that is the first one being the sleeves. It's so much time to roll a sleeve. Obviously, as you go faster and faster, you're gonna get better and better and tighter to make your arms look even more swole than ever before. However, the downfall is how tight it can actually get, and if you've ever had issues getting off your blouse top, you would definitely understand what I mean by this. At the end of the day, you need a partner to bring off your sleeves because it's just so hard to get them off on your own. Also, in the Navy, we were allowed to wear sleeves up, sleeves down. Really, as long as you're not in formation, you can wear whatever you want. That's one other downfall of how the Marine Corps operates these uniforms, is you are set on your sleeves. So for example, the whole Marine Corps will be sleeves up or sleeves down on a certain day. So whether you're in Hawaii or in the coldest place, I don't know, think of it. If you're in that cold place, you can be in the positive or negative side of things depending on where you're at. But I understand the Marine Corps is driven on structure, so I understand why this is. It's just some people will have more adjustment than others. The next thing are these collar devices. As much as it's cool that they're black, I enjoy that they're black, I have no issues with them being black. The issue is when they try and become not black. And that's when they bang against something, even just laying it on the ground. If you're not thinking about it, or you put them in the wrong place where it's gonna get scratched up. They say scratch resistant, these things are never scratch resistant. Then you're trying to either use some kind of Sharpie or something else to paint it black, or like spray paint, and then it just never looks the same, so you end up buying new ones. See here, it has a wrinkle divot where the position's at, it's at an angle, and the issue with that is it ends up always coming across with your arm bumping into it, so this ends up getting wrinkled and it's never truly flat. So unless you really iron it or press it flat, or maybe if you were skilled, had some kind of starch or something to get that flat, I just feel like that annoys me because of the angle of how the pocket on these are set. But overall, I think these flaws are very minimal flaws, to be honest with you. I don't think that I would trade the Navy one for this one, really anything like that. I think this has way more going for it than the Navy one, and I now understand why people love wearing the MARPADs. When I first came in the military as a corpsman, you were not allowed to wear any camouflage uniform when you're on the Navy side. So everybody that was on a prior green side command said how much they missed these uniforms. And then the Navy said, hey, we're gonna have our own digi camo whatever uniform and steal that idea from you, and then steal this idea from the Army, then that idea from the Air Force, and we're just gonna call it our own uniform, the NWU. But if you want to see more videos about uniforms and my thought process on if I enjoy them, don't like them, whatever, and let me know about your ideas as well. If you've worn these, have you worn other ones that you've liked or disliked? Let me know your favorites down in the comments below. But if you do have questions about the military, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, or down in the comments below. And as always, I love you guys. I'll see you next time.